Before we start the story, please let us know where you are watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video from Soulful Narratives, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Millionaire Ethan Caldwell came for a routine medical checkup and was surprised to see his ex, Dr. Sophia Bennett, as his doctor while her daughter played in the clinic. It had been 7 years since he last saw her. That time felt clear in his mind, every moment of it. He never thought he would run into her again, especially in the bright halls of Riverside Medical Center, where the clean smell couldn't hide the feelings of regret that followed him. Ethan's heart raced as he stood still in the doorway of the cardiology wing, caught in the moment like a young person seeing their first love. There she was, Dr. Sophia Bennett, her name shining on the plaque like a reminder of all he had lost. Her back was turned to him, and her white coat flowed elegantly. Her hair was pulled back in a way that made her look both professional and stunning. Time seemed to fade away. The wealthy businessman felt like the 28-year-old who had walked away from the only woman who had ever made him feel truly alive. His fancy shoes felt heavy, as if they were weighing him down in this moment of truth. "Mr. Caldwell," the receptionist's voice broke through his thoughts. "Your appointment is ready." But Ethan could not move or breathe. He could only stare at the woman who had once promised to love him forever, right before he had shown her that forever was beyond his reach. Then Sophia turned around. The clipboard she was holding fell to the floor, the sound echoing through the quiet corridor like a sharp noise. Her deep brown eyes, which had once looked at him with so much warmth, widened in surprise, then narrowed with feelings that could have been hurt or anger or a mix of both. "Ethan," she said, his name coming out softly like a secret. Hearing his name from her made him feel both happy and pained. For a brief moment, everything stood still. The sounds of medical machines, the distant chatter of nurses, and the ticking of the clock faded away as the years of silence stretched between them like a wide gap neither knew how to cross. She looked even more beautiful than he remembered. Confidence radiated from her as she stood there, and Ethan felt both proud and regretful at the same time. "Mama, I finished my picture!" a small voice called from the side, pulling Ethan back to reality. A little girl around 6 years old jumped up from a table filled with coloring books and crayons. She had Sophia's warm brown skin and graceful moves, but something about her made Ethan's heart race with recognition: the shape of her face, the way she tilted her head to look up at her mother, and the dimple in her chin when she smiled. "That's lovely, dear," Sophia said, her voice a bit shaky as she bent down to look at the drawing. But her eyes kept returning to Ethan, observing him as he pieced together the worries shown in the child's expression. "Is this the patient, Mama?" the little girl asked, studying Ethan with wide eyes. "He looks worried. Are you going to help him feel better?" The innocence of her question caught Ethan off guard. Help him feel better? If only it were that easy. If only the trouble he had caused himself could be mended with just medicine and time. "L.A., go back to your coloring, please," Sophia said gently but firmly. "Mama needs to work." Ella. Even her name was pretty, special, and had a nice sound, just like her mother. Ethan watched as the little girl skipped back to her corner, humming a song he didn't know, and felt something change inside him. She was maybe 5 or 6, with Sophia's graceful movements and warm brown skin, but the way she tilted her head in focus reminded him of someone else. "We should begin," Sophia said, her professional tone returning effortlessly. "Mr. Caldwell, please follow me to examination room 3. The formality in her voice hurt more than any slap could have. "Mr. Caldwell," as if they were strangers, as if he hadn't once known her every secret, every way to make her laugh until she cried. Ethan followed her down the hallway, unable to look away from the way she moved, the confidence in her steps, and how she carried herself like she owned everything around her. She had embraced her strength, becoming the woman he always knew she could be without him. The examination room was small but cozy, even with its clinical feel. Sophia focused on his chart, her movements exact and professional. But Ethan noticed the slight shake in her hands and how she avoided meeting his gaze. "Please take a seat on the table," she said, finally looking him in the eye. I need to check your heart and lungs and your blood pressure." The irony of the moment was clear to both of them. She was going to listen to his heart, the heart that had been broken and empty for years, the heart that had just started to feel alive again when he saw her face. "Sophia, Dr. Bennett," she corrected herself firmly, and then softened a little. "Please, let's keep this professional." Ethan nodded, understanding the line she was trying to draw, even as he felt the urge to reach out to her, to say he was sorry, to ask for the chance to explain everything that had happened years before. He took off his jacket and rolled up his sleeves, aware of every movement and every breath he took. As Sophia came closer with her stethoscope, he caught a hint of her perfume, something floral that reminded him of calm mornings and cozy moments. "Take a deep breath," she instructed, and he did, trying to focus on anything other than how her presence made him feel. "Your heart rate is elevated," she said, her tone even. "I wonder why?" He replied quietly, and he noticed her jaw tense. She finished the examination in silence, her touch professional yet gentle, and Ethan found himself remembering every moment the way she bit her lower lip when focused, the little furrow on her brow, the way she held her breath to listen to his heart. "Everything seems normal," she finally said, stepping back and putting away her stethoscope. "Your blood pressure is a bit high, but that could be due to stress." "Stress?" That was one way to put it. "I'm going to need you to come back next week for some more tests," she said, writing notes in his file. "We'll do some blood work, an EKG, and a stress test. That's standard for someone with your lifestyle." "My lifestyle?" For the first time since he entered the room, she looked directly at him, and he noticed a spark in her eyes. High stress, high stakes, a life focused on work above everything else. Her words hung between them like a heavy reminder of every choice he had made that separated him from her. "Sophia, Dr. Bennett," she corrected herself, but it felt less certain this time. "I never forgot," he said softly. It felt like a truth from deep within him, not for a single day. She stared at him for a long moment, something vulnerable flashing across her face before she hid it away again. "I'll have the receptionist schedule your follow-ups," she said, her voice steady despite the emotions in her eyes. "Take care of yourself, Ethan." She turned to leave but paused at the door, her hand on the handle. "She's 6, she said, not looking back in case you were wondering. And with that, she was gone, leaving Ethan with everything left unsaid and the heavy weight of lost time. Outside, he could hear Laya asking her mother if the sad man was going to be okay. Ethan shut his eyes, wondering the same thing. Chapter 2. Professional Boundaries. The silence in examination room 3 felt tense, ready to break with each tick of the clock, marking another moment of the life Ethan had walked away from. His hands, which confidently handled important meetings and large deals, felt shaky as he rebuttoned his shirt. "She's 6. The words echoed in his mind, haunting him. 6 years old, 6 years of birthdays he missed, bedtime stories he never read, scraped knees he couldn't fix, 6 years of his daughter growing up without knowing him. The door creaked open and Sophia stepped back inside, her professional demeanor visible but fragile. She carried a folder heavy with forms and tests, but Ethan could see her fingers gripping the edges tightly, the slight blush on her cheeks showing her struggle to stay composed. "I've scheduled your follow-up appointments," she said, sitting down across from him with a careful distance. "Blood work tomorrow at 9, EKG on Wednesday, and the stress test on Friday morning. The lab results should be ready soon. Sophia." He spoke her name quietly, as if it was a secret he had kept for years. "Please, can we just talk? Really talk?" She looked up from the papers, and for a moment it seemed her carefully built walls around her heart might crumble. In her eyes, he saw flashes of the woman who once curled up against him on Sunday mornings, who laughed at his silly jokes, who once talked about having a family together. "There's nothing to discuss, Ethan." But there was something shaky about her voice. "You're my patient. I'm your doctor. That's where this starts and ends, doesn't it?" He leaned forward, wanting to bridge the gap between them, emotionally as much as physically. "Because last time I checked, patients don't usually make their doctor's hands shake." Sophia looked down at her trembling fingers, quickly clasping them in her lap. "You're imagining things, am I? Because I remember how you look when you're about to cry." And right now, don't. The word came out sharp, defensive. Don't analyze me. You lost that right 7 years ago when you disappeared without saying anything. The accusation hit him hard, and Ethan felt the familiar heaviness of guilt rest on him. I know, Sophia. If I could go back and change everything, I would. But I can't, he said. She suddenly stood up and paced to the small window that looked out over the garden. You can't change the fact that I tried to reach you for 3 weeks after you left. You can't change that your phone went straight to voicemail or that your apartment was empty. You vanished like I didn't matter at all. Ethan's throat tightened. He remembered those calls and had heard every voicemail she'd left, each one more desperate than the last. But he had been overwhelmed with his startup, believing that answering would only make everything harder for both of them. You mattered, he said softly. You mattered more than anything. That's why I had to go. The investors wanted everything from me, every moment and every bit of energy. I couldn't give you the life you deserved while I was starting the company. Sophia turned to him, her eyes blazing. That wasn't your choice to make. You didn't get to decide what life I deserved. You didn't get to decide that I wasn't worth fighting for. I thought I was protecting you from what? Love, partnership, a future together? Her laugh had no joy in it, only hurt. Do you have any idea what it was like? Waking up to find you gone? Hearing from your landlord that you didn't have your place anymore? Calling your office only to find out you'd moved to Silicon Valley without telling anyone? Her voice cracked, and Ethan stood up, moving toward her. Sophia, please let me explain. No. She held up her hand, stopping him. I don't want your explanations or excuses. I want you to know that your choice to protect me cost me everything. For a moment, he thought she might tell him about the pregnancy, about her decision to raise their daughter alone. Instead, she turned back to the window, her reflection faint in the glass. I loved you, she whispered so quietly he could barely hear. I loved you with everything I had, and you made that love feel worthless. Do you know how long it took me to rebuild myself? To believe I was worth more than being left behind when things got tough? Ethan felt like he was sinking. Each word she spoke pulled him deeper into regret. I never meant to. It doesn't matter what you meant. She quickly wiped her eyes, trying to keep her emotions in check. What matters is what you did, and you chose your ambitions over us. A gentle knock on the door interrupted them, followed by their daughter Laya's cheerful voice. Mama, can I come in? I want to show you my robot. Sophia's expression changed instantly, her motherly instincts taking over as she opened the door. Of course, sweetheart. Come in! Leia bounced into the room holding a coloring page with an elaborate robot she had carefully colored. But her gaze quickly shifted to Ethan, who stood awkwardly near the examination table, looking stunned. Are you feeling better now? She asked, her innocent curiosity shining through. Mama's really good at fixing hearts. She fixed Mrs. Thompson's heart last month, and now Mrs. Thompson can dance again. Ethan's eyes met Sophia's over their daughter's head, and they shared an unspoken thought. If only it were that easy to fix hearts. I'm feeling much better, Ethan said as he crouched down to look at Isla. That robot is lovely. Did you make it yourself? Isla smiled brightly, her entire face lighting up with pride. Oh, it's a helper robot. See, it has special arms for hugging people who are sad and sensors that can tell when someone needs ice cream. Despite everything, Ethan felt a real smile on his face, the first in years. Ice cream sensors. That's a great idea. Every robot should have one. That's what I said. Isla clapped her hands together. My mom says I'm going to be an engineer someday, like the people who build rockets and bridges. She paused, studying his face closely. You have very nice eyes. They're the same color as the sea glass my mom and I found at the beach last summer. Ethan's breath caught. Sea glass. Sophia had always loved collecting it. She spent hours on the beach searching for those perfectly smooth pieces. The thought that she still did it and shared that with their daughter made him feel a deep longing. Thank you, he said softly. That's a nice compliment. Layla, sweetheart, why don't you pack up your coloring supplies? Sophia's voice was calm, but Ethan could sense the tension underneath. We need to go home soon. Okay, Mama. Ela skipped toward the door and then turned back to Ethan. Will you come visit Mama again? The question felt heavy. Ethan looked at Sophia, trying to read her expression. Yes, he finally said, keeping his gaze on Sophia. I'll be back. Once Ela left, silence filled the room, heavier now with the weight of their daughter's innocent presence. She's amazing, Ethan said quietly. She's smart and funny, and she's mine, Sophia added quickly. The words fierce, protective. I've raised her alone for 6 years. I've been her everything. She doesn't need any disruption in her life. She doesn't need. She stopped and took a breath. She needs stability. She needs routine. She must know that people in her life won't just leave when times are hard. The truth in her words stung because it was true. Ethan had walked away when things got tough. He had taken the easier way, avoiding the challenge of balancing love with ambition. I'm not the same man I was 7 years ago, he said. Aren't you? She gathered his chart and test forms, moving quickly and efficiently. You're still the man who built an empire by putting work above everything else. You still measure success by money and popularity. What's really different, Ethan? He longed to tell her everything. How empty his success felt without someone to share it with. How he built his fortune while losing her. How every achievement felt hollow because she wasn't there to celebrate with him. But the words wouldn't come. I don't sleep, he finally said. The admission echoed a deep and vulnerable part of him. I haven't rested well in 7 years. Every night I lie alone in my large bed in my empty apartment and remember what it was like to fall asleep with you. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But I'd trade it all for one more night like that. For just a moment, Sophia's professional mask slipped, revealing a glimpse of the woman who had loved him, who had dreamed of a future with him, and who had been hurt by his departure. It's too late for poetry, Ethan, she said, her voice softer now, mixed with something that felt like grief. Some things cannot be fixed with nice words and kind actions. What about time? Can I show you I've changed? She looked at him for a long while, and he could see her inner struggle. It was a battle between the woman who loved him and the mother who would protect her child at any cost. Your appointment confirmations are at the front desk, she said at last, changing the subject. Don't forget them. Being consistent is important for the best results. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. Ethan took it as a small win. Thank you, he said, meaning more than just the medical care, for everything, for taking care of yourself, for becoming the strong woman you were meant to be, for raising our. He caught himself, for raising Laya to be so wonderful. Sophia's breath caught slightly at his near mistake, but she didn't correct him. She is wonderful, she agreed softly. She's the best thing I've ever done. She should have been ours, Ethan thought, but didn't say that out loud. Instead, he nodded and walked to the door. Ethan. He turned back, hope rising in his chest. Don't hurt her. Whatever you're planning, she has been through enough. We both have. I would never hurt her, he said with strong belief. Or you. Not again. As he left the examination room, Ethan held onto the sound of Leia's laughter. He also carried the memory of Sophia's tears and the heavy weight of 7 years of lost chances. Chapter 3. Memories Come Back. 7 years earlier. The coffee shop on 5th Street had bad sound quality, mismatched furniture, and a unique charm that came from years of students sharing their thoughts and coffee at worn wooden tables. Ethan had found it by chance, ducking inside from a sudden rainstorm, and stayed because the girl with the medical books looked up when he grumbled about his wet laptop. Put it in rice overnight. It might save it, she said simply, not taking her eyes off her diagrams. Her voice was warm and sweet, with just a touch of humor that made him want to hear more. When she finally looked up, Ethan felt like the world shifted. She was beautiful in a way that made his heart race, her natural hair framing a face that belonged in art. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and playfulness, and her skin seemed to shine from within. Does that really work? He asked, holding his laptop tightly, wanting to keep talking to her. It depends on how badly you treated it, she responded. Something in her voice hinted that she was not just talking about electronics. That was the start of their connection. 3 hours passed, like it was only 3 minutes. Their coffee went cold as they discussed everything and nothing. She shared her dreams of becoming a doctor. He talked about his wild idea for a tech business. They shared their favorite books and the places they wanted to visit. The future suddenly seemed bright for both of them. "I'm Sophia," she said as the coffee shop began to close. "Ethan," he replied, already sensing that he was falling for her. Present day. Ethan sat in his Tesla outside Riverside Medical Center. The memory was so clear he could still smell the coffee shop's cinnamon scent. His hands gripped the steering wheel as waves of memories washed over him, each one more painful than the last. Their first real date was at the Natural History Museum, chosen by Sophia because she wanted to see the human heart exhibit. They stood in front of the preserved heart, her hand warm in his, as she explained how it worked, how each beat was a miracle. "The heart is the only muscle that never gets to rest," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It starts beating before we are even born, and it doesn't stop until we die." Ethan thought about the strength it takes to keep going against all odds. He held her hand tightly, feeling that his heart found its beat when he first met her. Their relationship grew like a flower opening up during late-night study sessions. She would test him on business topics while he helped her learn medical terms. They enjoyed lazy Sunday mornings wrapped in blankets, dreaming about a future that felt sure to come. She would curl up against him, tracing shapes on his arm, sharing stories about her day, dreams, and worries. "I want to help people," she had whispered one night, her breath warm against him. "You already helped me," he replied, meaning it deeply. After 8 months, they moved into a small apartment near campus that felt perfect because it was theirs. Sophia liked cooking Sunday dinners and said it kept her grounded despite her busy schedule. Ethan would work on his laptop at the kitchen table, stealing glances at her as she hummed while chopping vegetables, her actions smooth and confident. "What are you looking at?" she'd tease, laughing at the way he would blush. "My future," he'd say, and she'd kiss him until he forgot about his laptop and dinner simmering on the stove. In the present, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message about a work deal, bringing him back to reality. Instead of reading it, he scrolled through his contacts until he found the folder he couldn't bring himself to erase. It contained all their memories from the 2 years they had shared. There was a photo of Sophia laughing at his failed pancake attempt, a flower in her hair, joy shining in her eyes. They were at the beach where she held up a piece of sea glass, the sunset glowing on her skin. There was the silly selfie they took on Christmas morning in matching pajamas she had insisted they wear. He hesitated over a video he could never watch, but couldn't delete. The date showed it was from 2 weeks before everything changed. With shaky hands, he pressed play. Sophia's face lit up the screen, radiating happiness. She was in their kitchen, wearing one of his old t-shirts, her hair messy from sleep. "Ethan Caldwell," she said with a giggle. "You left your phone at home like you always do. So, I'm leaving you a video message. I have news." Ethan's heart raced. He sensed what was coming. But seeing the excitement on her face as she got ready to tell him took his breath away. "I'm pregnant," she said softly, placing her hand on her stomach. "We're going to have a baby, Ethan. I know it's scary and we're both so young, and you're working hard." But her voice sparkled with joy. "I can't wait to tell you. I can't wait to see your face." Ethan abruptly ended the call, the sound echoing in the car like a loud bang. The video kept playing, with her words soft but clear. "I love you so much. We're going to be a family, just like we always talked about. Come home soon, okay? I have a wonderful surprise for you." 7 years earlier that same night, Ethan was in a conference room in downtown Seattle. He was surrounded by investors who wore expensive cologne and had a strong drive for success. The Meridian Group had offered him everything: unlimited funding, connections, and a chance to lead in their market. But their terms were strict. Victor Grayson, the main investor, had looked at Ethan with cold eyes and said, "Total commitment. No distractions. This company will be your everything. Can you handle that dedication, Mr. Caldwell?" Ethan thought about Sophia waiting for him at home, likely studying for her MCAT or making one of his favorite pasta dishes. He remembered their weekend plans and her recent secretive behavior, how she seemed excited about a surprise. He had taken a deep breath and said yes, sealing both of their futures with that one word. The deal required him to move to Silicon Valley right away. The investors wanted him to be focused and completely devoted to their vision, and driven by ambition and fear of failure, He agreed to everything. When he returned home to pack, he planned to wake Sophia and explain everything, hoping to convince her to join him. But she looked so peaceful while sleeping, one hand gently resting over her stomach, a sight he didn't fully appreciate at the time. He had watched her for an hour, memorizing her face in the moonlight, telling himself that this was all for a better future. He left a note instead of having a difficult conversation that might have changed everything. The note said, "I have to go. There's an opportunity I can't miss, but it means leaving right away. I love you, but I need to do this alone. I'll call when I can. Please understand." Present day. Ethan looked at himself in the reflection of his car window, seeing the young man who had made a regrettable choice years ago. He had believed that success would fix everything, that money and power would earn her love. Instead, it had cost him the most important thing in his life. His phone rang, bringing him back to reality. It was his assistant calling, but he didn't answer. Nothing the business world had to offer mattered to him anymore. When he had finally found what he was looking for in his career, he realized it wasn't in boardrooms or business deals, but in reconnecting with Sophia and their daughter. 7 years ago, 3 weeks after he left, Sophia had called him 43 times. He knew this because he had counted each missed call and listened to her voicemails until he had memorized them. The first messages were filled with confusion and worry. Then she became concerned, asking if he was okay. After that, she expressed hurt and pleaded for him to call back. Eventually, her tone turned angry, demanding answers. Her last voicemail came on a Tuesday, and her voice sounded different, flat, and drained of its usual warmth. "I get it now," she said carefully. "You're not coming back. You made your choice, and it wasn't me. That's fine. I want you to know I'll be okay." There was a pause, and Ethan heard her take a shaky breath. "I hope your opportunity gives you everything you thought you needed. Don't call me back. Don't try to find me. Whatever we had, just let it go. Let me go." Present day. Ethan closed his eyes, remembering how he almost dialed her back that night, his phone in hand, her number ready to call. But Victor Grayson walked into his office just then, reminding him of the presentation about the Tokyo expansion and the many tasks that needed his focus. He told himself he would have time later when his success would give him the words and the life he could offer her. He believed that waiting was showing kindness, that returning without something to offer would be selfish. 7 years. 7 years of building a life from the biggest loss he had ever faced. 7 years of convincing himself that the sadness in his chest was simply the price of his ambition. 7 years of sleeping alone in beds more expensive than most people's cars, surrounded by all the things money could buy but feeling empty inside. A knock on his car window startled him. A parking attendant stood outside, pointing at the meter that had expired while he had been lost in thought. "Sorry," Ethan said as he rolled down the window. "I was just—" "No problem, sir. Happens to all of us. Just lost in thought," the attendant replied. As he put coins into the meter, Ethan's mind wandered to Leia, their daughter, even though she didn't know he existed yet. She was 6 years old. 6 years of birthdays he had missed, bedtime stories he had never told, scraped knees he hadn't helped her with. 6 years of her growing up without knowing her father. But she was real. Despite everything he had done wrong, despite every poor choice he had made, something wonderful had come from their love. Sophia had taken care of their child on her own, giving Leia everything she needed without his support. The thought filled him with both gratitude and sadness. He was grateful that Sophia was strong and caring, that she could provide for their daughter. But he was also heartbroken that he had missed everything, that his fears had kept him from being a part of something so important. Back in his car, Ethan made a choice that felt both risky and hopeful. He wouldn't let another day go by without fighting for what he had lost. He wouldn't let fear, pride, or the comfort of his success stop him from reaching out to the family he had never stopped loving. He didn't know if Sophia would ever forgive him. He didn't know if Leia would want a father who had been absent all her life. He wasn't sure if the bond they once had could survive 7 years of silence and regret. But he had to try. For the first time in 7 years, Ethan Caldwell was ready to choose love above all else, even if it risked everything he had built, especially if it was too late, because some things were worth losing everything for. Sophia and Leia were everything to him. The morning of Ethan's appointment for tests came with the cool autumn air that made Seattle look beautiful. He had barely slept, his mind racing with memories and hopes for the future. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Laya's bright smile, heard her curious questions, and felt the overwhelming truth that she was his daughter. His daughter. Those words still felt strange, like a new language he was just learning. For 6 years, she had been out there, taking her first steps and saying her first words, reaching all the important moments he had dreamed of sharing with Sophia. Ethan arrived at Riverside Medical Center 40 minutes early for his follow-up appointment, telling himself it was just to be efficient. But the truth was, he was eager for another glimpse of the family he had lost. The test would take only 15 minutes, but maybe he might see them again. The medical center's lobby was busy with morning activity. Ethan's eyes went straight to a familiar corner where a small table and chairs were set up. Laya was sitting there, coloring with great concentration, just like he had seen the day before. Her small forehead was wrinkled in focus, and that look felt strangely familiar to him. He saw that she was alone, which surprised him. He looked around but didn't see Sophia. "Excuse me," he said to the receptionist. "Is Dr. Bennett here today?" "Yes, she's here early for a procedure," the receptionist replied. "Are you here for your EKG, Mr. Caldwell?" After finishing his blood work, Ethan found he was walking toward the children's corner instead of the exit. Leia looked up as he got closer, her face lighting up when she saw him. "You're the sad man from yesterday," she said cheerfully. Ethan couldn't help but smile at how accurate her words were. "Are you still sad?" she asked. "Did Mama fix your heart yet?" Ethan sat down in the small chair across from her, his knees nearly hitting his chin. "She's working on it," he replied honestly. "What are you drawing today?" He glanced back at the receptionist and asked, "Is that her daughter over there by herself?" The receptionist smiled warmly and said, "That's little Laya. She's fine. Dr. Bennett often brings her in on procedure days. She knows the routine. She colors and reads until the daycare van comes to pick her up for school. Sweet little thing, isn't she? Just as smart as her mama." Ethan felt a knot in his chest. Here was another routine he had missed, another part of their lives he knew nothing about. While he had been in luxury hotels around the world, Laya had learned to make herself comfortable in medical center waiting areas, handling her mother's work with a maturity that made him ache. Laya proudly held up her latest drawing, which looked like plans for a house with wings and what seemed to be a way to fly. "It's a flying house," she said seriously. "See, sometimes people have to move for work or other things. But what if their house could just fly to where they needed to be? Then families wouldn't have to be apart." The wise words of his 6-year-old daughter hit Ethan hard. Here she was, unknowingly discussing the exact problem that had broken their family apart, offering a child's solution to grown-up issues. "That's brilliant," he managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. "Have you shown this to your mom?" "Not yet. She's busy with a surgery," Leia responded, looking at him curiously. "Are you here for another appointment?" "Just some tests," Ethan replied. "Your mom wants to make sure I'm healthy." "Good. Mama gets worried when people don't take care of themselves." Leia tilted her head, and Ethan saw so much of himself in that small gesture that it took his breath away. "Do you have a family?" she asked, and the question felt sharp. "It's complicated," he finally said. "Complicated how?" Leia pressed. Ethan had learned that kids didn't like vague answers. "Well, I once loved someone very much, but I made some mistakes, and we're not together anymore." Leia nodded as if this made complete sense. "Did you say sorry?" she asked. "I'm trying to," he replied. "Mama says sorry only works if you really mean it, and if you don't make the same mistakes again." She picked up another crayon and continued adding details to her flying house. "What did you do that was wrong?" Ethan looked at this bright child, his child who was casually sharing life lessons while creating something imaginative. How could he tell a 6-year-old that her father had chosen money instead of love, success instead of family, and put everything else above the people who should have meant the most to him? "I left when I should have stayed," he said quietly. "I thought other things were more important, but I was wrong." "That's bad," Leia agreed. Mama says leaving is the worst thing you can do to someone you love because it makes them feel like they are not worth staying for. Hearing these words, which sounded just like Sophia, felt like a judgment from the world itself. Ethan closed his eyes, taking in the truth, and accepted that it was deserved. "Your mama is very wise," he said when he could speak again. "She is the smartest person in the whole world," Leia said proudly. She continued, "She can fix any heart, even the really broken ones. She says hearts are tough. They can keep going even when they are hurt, but they need love to heal well." "What if someone's heart has been broken for a long time?" Ethan asked. "What if the person who broke it wants to fix it but doesn't know how?" Leia thought hard, her little face scrunched up in concentration. "Mama says healing takes time and proof. You can't just say sorry once and expect everything to be better. You have to show that you really changed, and you have to be patient while the hurt person decides if they want to trust you again." At just 6 years old, she understood more about making things right than many adults. Ethan felt a mix of pride and deep regret. This amazing little girl was part of him. He had missed every moment of her growing up. "You're very smart," he told her, "just like your mama." Leia smiled at the praise. "I want to be a doctor like her someday, or maybe an engineer, or both. Mama says I can be anything if I work hard enough. She's right. You can be anything." Ethan leaned closer, eager to hear more. "What kind of engineering do you like?" Leia responded, "All kinds. I like building things, but I also like how things work inside, like hearts. I know all about hearts because Mama teaches me. Did you know your heart beats about 100,000 times every day?" Ethan was surprised. "I didn't know that." "It's true, and all that blood goes through tiny tubes called capillaries. Mama showed me pictures." Leia's eyes sparkled with excitement at sharing what she knew. "She says the heart is the most important muscle because everything else needs what it gives." Ethan thought about his own heart, how it had felt empty for so long, keeping on but not alive, until yesterday when he saw Sophia again and remembered what it felt like to be truly alive. "Your mom taught you well," he said. "She teaches me a lot, like how to make pancakes and tie my shoes, and how to be brave when things are scary." Leia's voice changed to a thoughtful tone. "Sometimes I wonder about my daddy." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "What do you wonder?" "Just things like if he has green eyes like me, or if he likes building things, or if he would read me bedtime stories." She shrugged, trying to seem casual, but Ethan noticed her hidden longing. "Mama says he had to go away before I was born. Sometimes people who go away can't come back, but I still wonder sometimes." Her words hit him hard. This beautiful, smart child had spent 6 years thinking about a father who had been so close, living his empty life just hours away, but too caught up in his own goals to even know she existed. "I bet," Ethan said gently, his voice thick with emotion. "I bet he wonders about you too. He probably thinks about you every day. He wishes he could read you stories, help you build amazing things, and tell you how proud he is of you for being so smart and kind." Leia looked up from her coloring, her bright green eyes studying him. "Do you really think so?" she asked. "I know so," Ethan whispered, feeling it deeply. Before Leia could respond, a cheerful voice called from across the room, "Lila, ready for school?" A woman in a daycare uniform came over with a group of children. Leia quickly started to pack her things, but paused to look back at Ethan. "Will you be here tomorrow?" she asked. Ethan looked toward the area where he knew Sophia was working, helping others. "I have another appointment," he replied. "So yes, I'll be here." "Good," Leia said with determination. "I want to show you my robot book. I think you'd like it." As she bounced towards the group, she turned back. "Hey, what's your name? I can't keep calling you the sad man." "Ethan," he said, his voice catching a bit. "My name is Ethan." Something brightened in her eyes, maybe recognition or just curiosity. "Ethan," she repeated, trying out the name. "That's a nice name. I'm Leia, but you already knew that." "It's a beautiful name," Ethan said. "Perfect for a wonderful girl." Leia smiled and waved goodbye as she joined the other kids heading out. Ethan watched her go, his heart lifting and aching at the same time, realizing the weight of what just happened. He'd spent just 20 minutes with his daughter, and it felt life-changing. She was bright, curious, and kind, just like her mother, and he hoped a little of himself was in her too. She was everything he had hoped for when thinking about having children, and she was growing up without him. Ethan remained in the small chair long after Leia left, staring at the drawings she had left behind. The flying house looked back at him, reminding him of his dreams and the things he had lost but still hoped to find. His phone buzzed with messages from work, but for the first time in 7 years, he ignored them. He carefully folded Leia's drawing and tucked it into his jacket pocket, close to his heart. Then he went to the front desk to set up another appointment with Dr. Bennett, not for medical reasons, but because he wanted to show that some things mattered more than work. Some things were worth fighting for, no matter how long it took. As he left the medical center, he felt the warmth of his daughter's laughter in his heart, the memory of her bright curiosity, and the understanding that love could survive even through tough times if you had the courage to keep trying. The flying house in his pocket felt like a bridge between who he had been and who he still hoped to be as a father. Chapter 5. Coffee Shop Confessions. The same coffee shop on 5th Street hadn't changed much in 7 years. The mismatched furniture still filled the space, along with the familiar charm that made it a comforting place for those with heavy hearts. Ethan got to the cafe 30 minutes early and took the same corner table where he had first fallen for Sophia. His hands shook as he ordered 2 lattes, remembering how she liked hers with just the right amount of cinnamon on top, sweet enough to balance the bitter taste. When she walked in at 6:30, his breath caught in his throat, just like it had 7 years ago. She had changed out of her medical scrubs into a simple black dress that fit her perfectly. Her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and even though she looked tired, she was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. "You remembered," she said softly, sliding into the chair across from him while looking at the latte in front of her. "I remembered everything," Ethan replied, his voice thick with feeling. Every conversation, every laugh, every dream they shared in that cafe had stayed with him for 7 years. Sophia wrapped her hands around the warm mug as if to create a barrier between them. "Then why did you leave?" The question filled the space between them, heavy and hard to breathe around. Ethan had thought about this moment many times, but now, facing her hurt, his words felt inadequate. "Because I was 28 and scared, thinking that success was the only way to be worthy of you," he said. "When the Meridian Group offered me everything I thought I wanted, I believed that building a future was the only way to give you the life you deserved, the life I wanted." Sophia's voice rose slightly, catching the attention of nearby customers. She lowered it to a whisper. "I deserved honesty, Ethan. I deserved a conversation. I deserved to be included in the choices that changed our lives." He nodded, knowing she was right. "You deserved all of that, and more." Ethan leaned forward, wanting to bridge the space between them, feeling as if the emotional distance was vast. "I was a coward. I thought leaving quietly would be nicer than making you face uncertainty or the upheaval of everything we had built together." Sophia laughed, but it was painful, filled with years of hurt. "You think vanishing without a word was kind? Do you understand how that sounds?" She set her mug down hard, spilling some coffee on the table. "Do you know what it feels like to wake up and find the person you love just gone? To call over and over just to find out your number was blocked? That the man who promised to love you has erased you from his life?" Each of her words hit Ethan hard. "I never blocked your number. I listened to every voicemail. I saved every message." "Then why didn't you answer?" Her voice was a quiet plea. "Why couldn't you just pick up the phone?" "Because I knew that if I heard your voice, I would want to come back. I thought that would be selfish and ruin our futures." Sophia's eyes flashed with anger. "You didn't have the right to decide that for both of us. You can't choose what's best for me." Ethan felt the weight of her words. "I know that now. I've spent 7 years regretting every choice I made, every call I didn't return, every moment I put my career first. Over what? Over us." Her words landed heavily between them, and Ethan could see her realize how hurtful they were. She closed her eyes, her face showing deep sadness. "She's mine," Ethan said softly. This was not a question. It was a truth he had felt in his heart since he saw Laya's green eyes. The word yes was barely heard. "She's yours." Ethan felt everything shift, even though he had already figured it out from the clues and the way his heart recognized her right away. But hearing it as a fact, seeing the hurt in Sophia's face made it real in a way that took his breath away. "The voicemails," he said, understanding rushing in. "The ones from the last few weeks before I left you were trying to tell me." Sophia nodded, tears rolling down her face. "I found out 2 days after you signed with Meridian Group. I was so excited, scared, and happy, all at once. I kept calling because I wanted to tell you in person, wanted to see your face when you heard the news, but I was already gone. By the time I realized you weren't coming back, by the time I understood that you chose your job over our relationship, I was 12 weeks along and completely alone." Her voice broke at the end. "Do you have any idea how hard that was? Carrying your child while feeling the loss of the father, knowing you had walked away before you even knew she existed." Ethan wanted to reach for her, to hold her and take away her pain, but he felt he had lost that chance long ago. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. Those words felt weak and not enough. "I'm so sorry, Sophia. Sorry doesn't bring back the nights I spent crying, wondering what I did wrong or what I could have done to make you stay." Her tears flowed faster now. Years of hidden pain finally coming out. Sorry doesn't change the tough times I went through alone, or the first steps you missed, or the birthdays when she asked why she didn't have a daddy like the others. Each new truth felt like a jab to his heart, but Ethan focused on listening, taking in every detail of the life he missed and the hurt he caused. "Tell me about her birth," he said gently. "Please." Sophia looked at him for a long time, caught between wanting to hurt him and the need to share the important moment of her life. She was born on a Tuesday in March. She finally said, her voice softening with the memory, 22 hours of labor, and I did it all alone because I couldn't call my mother, too heartbroken to reach out to friends who would ask about her father. Ethan closed his eyes, picturing Sophia going through that alone, being strong when she needed someone by her side telling her how brave she was. When they finally placed her in my arms, Sophia continued, she looked up at me with those perfect green eyes. Your eyes. I fell apart because she was so beautiful and I loved her right away. But I also mourned that you would never see her, never hold her, never know how wonderful she was. What did you name her? Laya, it's beautiful. What does it mean? A hint of a smile appeared on Sophia's face. It means night, a time of calm and thought. I chose it because I hoped that when she was older, she would understand that even in dark times, there is beauty and peace to find. Ethan felt the name settle in his heart like a gift. She's amazing. From the little time I've spent with her, I can see how bright she is, how kind. You've done an incredible job raising her. I've done my best. Sophia wiped her eyes with her hand. But it's been hard, Ethan, harder than you can imagine. Being a single mom and going to medical school was hard. Raising a child while starting a career was tough. I took on the roles of mother, father, worker, and protector all at once. I shouldn't have had to do it by myself, but I did. And we not only made it, we thrived. We created a life together, just the two of us. And it's a good life. My daughter is happy, healthy, and deeply loved. Ethan could hear the strength in my voice, mixing with the weakness of my past. I'm not trying to disrupt our life. I just want to be part of it. I want to know my daughter. I want to help, if you let me, to make up for lost time. Make up for it? How? I leaned back in my chair, looking at him with the calmness I learned as a doctor. With money, gifts, big gestures that don't change the past? No, I want to make up for it by being here, by being the father she deserves, the partner you needed all along. Partner? My laugh was quick and defensive. Ethan, we can't just pick up where we left off. This is not a fairy tale where everything gets fixed in the end. You hurt me and I'm still healing. Our daughter doesn't even know you. This is about her now, not us. I understand, and I know I shouldn't ask for anything. But please, give me a chance to show I've changed. Let me show you that I can be the man you both deserve. How do I trust you won't leave again when things get tough? When work takes over your time, or when a new opportunity comes up. Ethan took out Laya's drawing, that colorful flying house he had held onto since morning. He laid it out on the table. She drew this today, he said quietly. It was a flying house so families wouldn't have to be apart when moving for work. At 6 years old, she solved the problem I couldn't see 7 years ago. I watched as he continued. I spent 20 minutes with her this morning, and she taught me more about love and forgiveness than my years of success did. She said healing takes time and you can't just say sorry once and expect everything to be okay. She's wise for her age. I made her grow up without a father because of my choices. I could hear the hurt in his voice. I can't change the past. I can't give you back the nights you were alone or hold your hand during hard times. But I can be here now. I can choose you both every day for the rest of my life. He fell quiet, and I looked at the drawing, my coffee getting cold, avoiding his eyes. Then I spoke. What about the Tokyo opportunity? He looked confused. What? I know about the Yamamoto Group's offer for your company for $800 million and what it requires, I continued. It was in the business journal 2 weeks ago. I finally met his gaze. Have you made your decision? The question struck him. He was aware of the choice ahead, the same choice that had caused our separation 7 years ago. I don't, he said simply. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not taking the deal. I turned it down 3 days ago. Ethan showed me his phone with the email he sent to his board. I've spent 7 years building a company that means nothing without you and Leia. I won't make that mistake again. Sophia read the email, her eyes growing wide as she took in what he was saying. You turned down $800 million. I turned down everything that would take me away from the 2 most important people in my life. For the first time since they had started talking, Sophia looked at him without her walls up, without the distance she usually kept. He saw surprise in her eyes, maybe even a glimmer of hope. Ethan, I love you, he said, letting the words flow out. I never stopped loving you, not for a single day, not for a single moment. I love the woman you were, the woman you've become, the mother you are to our daughter. I love you enough to step aside if that's what is best for both of you. But I love you too much not to fight for the chance to be the man you deserve. Tears filled Sophia's eyes again, but these were different, softer, and filled with the hope she had held on to for 7 years. I don't know if I can do this again, she whispered. I don't know if I'm strong enough to trust you with my heart. Then don't, Ethan said, reaching across the table to lightly touch her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Don't trust me yet. Make me earn it. Let me show you every day that I've learned what really matters. Let me prove to you both that love is a choice we make every day. Sophia looked at their hands together, and Ethan felt the familiar connection that had never really gone away, just buried under years of hurt. She asks about you sometimes, Sophia said softly. He leaned in to hear more. I never knew what to tell her. Tell her the truth that her father made mistakes but never stopped loving her mother, that he has been lost for a long time but wants to find his way back. And if she wants to meet you, truly meet you, not just see you at the medical center. Ethan's heart soared, even as he tried to stay calm. Then I would consider that the greatest gift I could ever receive. Sophia gently pulled her hand away, which Ethan took as a small step forward. This won't be easy, she warned. I won't just let you back into our lives like nothing happened. If you want to be part of this, you will have to prove yourself to me, and more importantly, to her. I understand. I won't lie to her or create stories about why I wasn't there before. She deserves to know that sometimes adults make poor choices. She deserves everything, Sophia agreed, including the truth. Sophia nodded slowly, and Ethan could see she was making a choice that would change their lives. On Saturday afternoon, there's a science museum exhibit on robotics that she's been excited to see. If you want to meet her, really meet her. Be there at 2 o'clock? Tears came to Ethan's eyes. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving me this chance. Don't thank me yet, Sophia said, standing to leave. Thank me when you show that this time you choose love above all else. As she walked away, Ethan sat alone at their table, looking at Laya's drawing of a flying house. In 3 days, he would properly meet his daughter. In 3 days, he would start the hardest and most important job of his life, earning the right to be called her father. The coffee shop around him buzzed with life, but all he heard were Sophia's words, and the chance for a new beginning echoing in his heart like a long-awaited answer. Chapter 6. Building Bridges. Saturday arrived, bringing the feeling of destiny under the autumn sun. Ethan stood outside the Seattle Science Museum at 1:45 p.m. His hands were sweaty even though it was a cool October day. He changed his clothes 3 times that morning before choosing dark jeans and a simple navy sweater. In his hands, he held a carefully picked gift, a build-your-own robot kit that he had researched online for hours. When Sophia appeared at the museum entrance with Laya skipping beside her, Ethan's breath caught. His daughter was wearing a bright yellow dress with little gears on it and sneakers that lit up with every step. She looked like happiness itself, and Ethan felt his heart swell with love. "There's the sad man," Laya called out, waving excitedly. "But you don't look sad today." "I am happy," Ethan replied, crouching down to her level. "I get to spend the day with 2 of my favorite people." Laya giggled at being called one of his favorites, while Sophia nodded at him. Sophia looked lovely in jeans and a soft green sweater that highlighted her eyes. "Mama said, you used to know each other a long time ago," Laya said, looking at Ethan with a curious gaze. "We did," Ethan confirmed, glancing at Sophia. "Your mama and I were good friends." "Were you in love?" Laya asked innocently. Ethan noticed Sophia's cheeks turn slightly pink. "Laya," Sophia said gently, "remember what we talked about. Some questions are very personal." "But I want to know," Laya protested, turning back to Ethan. "Were you? You look at Mama the same way Prince Eric looks at Ariel in my movie." Ethan couldn't help but smile. "Your mama is very special," he said carefully. "She always has been." Satisfied, Laya grabbed Ethan's free hand easily. "Come on, I want to see the robots that can think for themselves." The simple contact of her small hand in his felt wonderful. This was his daughter, trusting him to lead the way. Her hand was warm and soft, a little sticky from the fruit snacks she had eaten. Inside the museum, Laya's excitement was contagious. She pulled Ethan from one exhibit to another, explaining how things worked with knowledge that impressed him. Sophia followed a little behind, watching them with a smile but allowing them to connect. "Look at this one," Laya said, pointing to a robotic arm that could paint. "It's making art all by itself." "Mama explained that it uses special math to decide what colors to use," she added. "Isn't that amazing?" Ethan agreed, genuinely impressed with Laya's enthusiasm. "How do you know so much about how robots work?" "Mama teaches me," Laya replied. "Understanding how things work helps you fix them when they break, like hearts. Hearts are like machines that pump blood everywhere in your body." Ethan smiled at Sophia over Laya's head, seeing the pride in her eyes as she watched their daughter share her knowledge. "Your mama is a great teacher," he said. "The best teacher ever," Laya chimed in. "She explains things so I can understand, and she never makes me feel silly for asking questions." They spent the next hour exploring the exhibits, and Ethan was amazed by how Laya's mind worked. She asked thoughtful questions, connected ideas, and approached each display with bold curiosity. "I brought you something," Ethan said when they reached a quieter part of the museum. He held out the robot kit, his heart racing as he waited for her reaction. Laya's eyes widened as she looked at the box. "This is the Junior Builder Bot. I've wanted this forever, but Mama said it was too expensive for now." She looked up at him with bright, shining eyes. "This is for me. Really? I thought we could build it together sometime. How about today? Can we build it today?" Ethan looked at Sophia for approval. She nodded slowly, and he felt grateful. They found a quiet spot in a cafe and laid out the robot pieces on a table. Ethan expected to lead the project, but soon realized that Laya had her own ideas about how to put it together. "No, that piece goes there," she said patiently, her small hands skillfully managing the bigger parts. "See how the picture shows where it connects? If you put it the other way, the arms won't move right." "You're right," Ethan said, impressed by her knowledge. "I stand corrected. Mama says..." Everyone makes mistakes, even grown-ups. The important thing is to learn from them. Leia looked at him with her green eyes, which reminded him of his own. Do you like learning new things? I do, especially with such a good teacher. They worked side by side for the next 2 hours, and Ethan found himself falling in love with his daughter's spirit. She was patient when he had trouble, encouraging when he felt frustrated, and very smart in finding solutions. When they hit a programming issue, she suggested asking Sophia for help. Mama knows about electrical systems because of hearts, Leia explained. Maybe she can help us figure out why our robot's arm keeps jerking. Sophia joined them at the table, and Ethan noticed her as she leaned over the robot. When she brushed against his shoulder while reaching for a part, he felt a jolt of excitement. I think the problem is with the calibration, she said, focusing intently. See how this sensor isn't reading correctly? You need to reset the baseline measurements. Together, the three of them worked through the programming, and when the little robot finally moved successfully, Leia cheered with joy. We did it! We actually did it! She hugged the robot, then happily hugged Ethan. Thank you for helping me build him. This is the best day ever. Ethan held his daughter tightly, and for a moment everything else faded away. When Leia pulled back, he had to blink away tears. What should we name him? He asked, his voice a bit shaky. Leia thought seriously. How about Bridge? Because he connects old technology and new, and because she paused, looking between Ethan and Sophia with a shy smile because you helped us all work together today. Ethan met Sophia's eyes across the table and saw his own feelings reflected back. Their daughter had unknowingly named their creation after what they were all striving to build. Bridge is perfect, Sophia said softly. As they got ready to leave the museum, Leia excitedly talked about changes she wanted to make to Bridge. Can Ethan come over for dinner tomorrow? Leia asked suddenly as they stood outside. I want to show him my room and my other projects, and Mama makes the best pancakes in the whole world. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Sophia, trying not to look too hopeful. I think that could work, Sophia said carefully, if Ethan doesn't have other plans. I don't have any other plans, Ethan said quickly. No plans at all. Yay! Leia bounced on her toes. Can you come early, like at 10 o'clock? That's when we usually start cooking. I'll be there at 10, Ethan promised. As they got ready to say goodbye, Leia hugged Ethan with the warm trust of a child who felt safe. Thank you for today, she said into his chest. I had a blast building the bridge with you and Mom. As Leia skipped ahead, Sophia moved closer to Ethan. For a moment, they stood in the warm afternoon light, memories of their past mixing with a little hope for their future. She really likes you, Sophia said softly. I love her, Ethan responded right away. She's amazing, Sophia. You've done such a great job raising her. She's the best parts of both of us, Sophia said, and something in her voice made Ethan's heart feel lighter. I see you in her curiosity, her drive to learn how things work. I also see you in her kindness, her wisdom, and how she makes everyone feel special. Ethan took a moment to find the right words. I see you in the way she loves so completely. They locked eyes for a long while, years of shared pain and hope passing between them silently. Tomorrow, Sophia said finally. She's going to have more questions about us, about why you weren't around before and what happens next. Are you ready for that? I'm ready to be honest, Ethan said. She deserves to know the truth. And so do I, Sophia added, adjusting her purse strap nervously. If you're going to be in her life, I need to know this isn't just about guilt or being new. I need to know you're really committed even when it gets hard. I'm committed, Ethan said strongly, to her and to earning your trust again. I know I have a lot to improve, but today felt like a fresh start. It did, Sophia replied quietly. A very small, fresh start. As she walked away with Leia, Ethan stayed outside the museum, watching until they turned the corner. In his pocket, Leia's drawing of a flying house had tangled with Bridge's program cord, and he smiled at the idea behind it. For the first time in 7 years, Ethan went to bed that night filled with hope instead of regret. Tomorrow, he would sit at Sophia's kitchen table, learn about their Sunday morning traditions, and take another small step toward becoming the father Leia deserved, and the man Sophia might trust again. Chapter 7. A New Morning. Sunday morning came with the soft sound of rain on the windows, creating a cozy feeling that made it nice to stay inside. Ethan stood at Sophia's door exactly at 10 o'clock, holding a bag of good coffee beans and a bunch of sunflowers, Leia's favorite, as he had remembered. When the door opened, he saw Sophia in comfy pajama pants and an oversized sweater, her hair in a messy bun with no makeup on. She looked beautiful in her natural self, shining brighter than anyone he had seen at fancy events. "You're right on time," she said, stepping aside to welcome him in. "Leia's been up since 7, getting her projects ready to show you." As Ethan entered their home for the first time, he felt a warm welcome that money couldn't buy. The small apartment was filled with signs of their life together. Leia's artwork covered the fridge. There was a cozy reading corner with well-worn books, and family photos showed just the two of them, all filled with joy. The space felt simple but was rich with love, and made for a happy home. Leia appeared in the hallway wearing matching pajamas and bunny slippers, her face glowing with excitement. "You came! I was scared you might have changed your mind." Her innocent words hit Ethan hard. Of course, she would worry about people changing their minds. She had spent 6 years with a father who didn't show up. "I would never change my mind about spending time with you," Ethan said, kneeling down to her level. "When I make a promise to someone I care about, I keep it." Leia smiled brightly and took his hand. "Come see my room first, then we can cook." Her bedroom showed exactly who she was. There were charts of stars on one wall, drawings of inventions on another, and a corner filled with projects she was working on. Ethan spent 20 minutes listening to her explain each creation, amazed by her creative ideas. "This is my perpetual motion machine," she said proudly, pointing to a device made of cardboard tubes and marbles. "It doesn't really work forever because of friction, but it's still pretty cool." "Did you learn about friction in school?" Ethan asked, feeling impressed. "Mama taught me. She says, understanding energy helps explain how blood moves through the body." Leia shrugged as if this was just a regular thing to know. "Want to see my volcano?" By the time they got to the kitchen, Ethan felt completely captivated by his daughter's smart mind and shining excitement. Sophia was already there, having set up the ingredients for their famous pancakes. Ethan noticed she was wearing jeans and a soft blue sweater. "Okay, student," Leia said seriously as she pulled a step stool to the counter. "First lesson in Bennett family pancakes. We make everything from scratch because store-bought mix is for amateurs." "Noted," Ethan said with a grin, taking the apron from Sophia as she tried to hold back a smile. What followed was the most fun and chaotic cooking experience Ethan had ever had. Leia was a fierce teacher, fixing his measuring skills and telling him to remix the batter when it wasn't fluffy enough. Sophia moved easily in the kitchen, sometimes helping them, but mostly enjoying the moment as father and daughter shared their pancake-making adventure. No, you're stirring too much," Leia giggled as Ethan mixed the batter with excitement. "Mama, he's making the pancakes tough." "Ethan," Sophia said playfully, "didn't you listen during the stirring lesson?" "I was distracted by my excellent teacher," Ethan replied, catching Sophia's eye and noticing something warm in her look before she turned away. When Ethan got batter on his shirt, Leia burst out laughing. "You're messier than I am, and I'm 6. "That's a serious claim," Ethan said dramatically, wiping the batter off his cheek. "I'll have you know I'm usually very coordinated." "Sure you are," Sophia teased, handing him a dish towel. "Is this the same coordination that built a tech company?" The morning sped by with laughter, flour flying, and pancakes that were perfectly imperfect. The second chance. When they finally sat down to eat, Leia had taken the seat between Ethan and Sophia, excitedly talking about her plans for Bridget's next upgrade while drowning her pancakes in syrup. "These are amazing," Ethan said, taking his first bite. "Secret ingredient," Leia whispered, leaning in. "Love. Mama says food tastes better when you make it with people you care about." After breakfast, the rain had gotten heavier, so their planned walk turned into building a fort in the living room. "Engineering ideas work for building forts, too," Leia said as they moved cushions and blankets. "You need a strong base, even weight distribution, and smart support spots." When they crawled inside to check it out, Ethan found himself close to both Sophia and Leia, their warmth comforting in the cozy space. As he read about faraway galaxies and brave astronauts, Leia snuggled against his side, trusting him completely. Sophia leaned back on the cushions, her shoulder touching his. Somewhere between the third and fourth chapters, Leia fell asleep, her head resting on Ethan's chest. "She hasn't fallen asleep like that with anyone else," Sophia whispered. "She usually can't relax around new people." "She must know I'm not new to her," Ethan replied. In the gentle light of their fort, with rain tapping against the windows, Ethan felt the walls they had both built around their hearts starting to break down. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For today, for letting me share your Sunday, for letting me know her." "I'm scared," Sophia admitted. "Scared that I'm remembering what it was like to have you in my life. Scared that she's getting close to you." "I won't leave," Ethan said softly. "I have loved you for 7 years, even when I was too afraid to say it. You are the only person who has made me want to be a better man. I want to spend my life showing both of you that love is a choice I make every day," he continued, gently touching her face. Sophia's breath caught. "This is risky. When you look at me like that, I remember what it feels like to be loved by you. I want to kiss you so much right now that it's hard to breathe, but I can't. We can't. Not yet." "I'll wait," he promised. "No matter how long it takes, I'll be here." Chapter 8. The Test. Everything changed on a Thursday evening when Ethan's phone rang with an urgent work call. There was a serious problem at his company's main server. "I have to go," he said, feeling torn as he looked at Leia's sad face. "There's an emergency at work." "But you promised we'd work on Bridge's voice recognition module tonight," Leia said. 3 hours later, while coordinating repairs, Sophia's name appeared on his phone. "Ethan," her voice was shaky. "I'm at the hospital. There was an accident, and I'll be here all night. Leia is at home with Mrs. Larson, but she can hardly stay awake past 9 o'clock. "I'm on my way," Ethan replied, leaving his team to handle the rest. He spent the night learning about bedtime routines, checking for monsters under the bed, and being there when his daughter needed him. At 6 a.m., Sophia walked into the kitchen, exhausted from surgery. "You stayed," she said softly, surprised. "Leia asked me to." "She was worried about you," he replied, pouring her coffee. "I've been doing this alone for so long," she confessed. "Sometimes I forget it doesn't have to be like that." "You don't have to be in 2 places anymore," he said gently. "Not if you don't want to." Tears rolled down her face. "I'm so tired. Tired of being strong all the time. Tired of wondering if I'm enough for her." "You are enough. But what if you didn't have to carry it all by yourself? Let me help. Let me be part of this." Sophia stepped forward and rested her head against Ethan's chest. "I'm so scared," she sobbed. "I'm scared of trusting you, and I'm scared of not trusting you. I'm scared that I'm falling in love with you all over again." When Leia appeared asking if Sophia was home, they realized they were becoming a family again. Chapter 9. The Choice. Nearly 2 weeks later, Sophia stood in front of her bedroom mirror, unsure about the black dress for dinner at Ethan's place. Leia was at a sleepover, and tonight they needed to talk seriously about their future. The evening at his penthouse was perfect dinner, dancing to At Last, and finally giving in to 7 years of longing. But morning brought doubt. Looking around his luxury apartment, Sophia felt the weight of their different worlds. "This is a lot to think about," she said, wrapping the sheet around herself. "Money doesn't matter," he said. "It does matter. I live in the real world, Ethan. What happens when your company calls with the next big chance? When someone offers you a deal you can't ignore?" "I won't leave again." "You can't promise that. When work gets in the way of personal life, you've shown me which one wins." She left him standing in his fancy room, surrounded by luxury and alone again. 3 days later, Victor Grayson called. "The Yamamoto Group's offer ends tomorrow. It's $800 million cash plus a 2-year job in Tokyo." What's there to think about? Everything, Ethan thought. The truly important things. Then his phone rang again. Roosevelt Elementary. Leia needed to talk to him about something very important before the science fair. In the principal's office, Leia sat across from him, more serious than her age suggested. Tommy Rivera said his daddy can't come to the science fair because he has to go to Tokyo for work. I got scared because what if you have to go to Tokyo too? Her words hit him hard. I chose work over you and your mama a long time ago, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. I missed the first 6 years of your life because I thought my job was more important than being with my family. So you won't go to Tokyo? Laya asked. I won't go anywhere. You and your mama are my home now. He called Victor while Laya watched. I'm declining the offer and stepping back from daily operations. I'm promoting Jessica Chen to CEO and focusing on my family. Have you lost your mind? This is $800 million. This is my life. And my life is worth more than $800 million. The science fair. The next day, Ethan found Laya's project a mechanical heart that pumped red liquid through clear tubes called How Hearts Heal. When a heart is broken, like when someone leaves, it keeps pumping, but it also pumps sadness, Laya explained to judges. But when love returns, the heart gets stronger and pumps happiness instead. When Laya placed second, Ethan cheered loudly. Then he saw Sophia at the back of the gym. After the awards, Ethan pulled out a velvet box and knelt down in the elementary school gym. Sophia Bennett, 7 years ago, I was too scared to choose you. Yesterday I was offered an opportunity to make that same mistake again. I turned it down because I realized that I already have everything I could ever want. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend my life showing that love is the only choice that matters? Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, yes, yes. 6 months later, the wedding was at the same coffee shop where they first met. Laya was both maid of honor and ring bearer, carrying the rings on Bridge, her robot. Do you, Ethan, take Sophia to be your wife, to love and cherish, and choose every day for the rest of your life? I do. I choose her today, tomorrow, and every day after that. Do you, Sophia, take Ethan to be your husband, to trust and forgive, and build a future together? I do. I choose love. I choose us. I choose our family. As they danced their first dance as a married couple, while Laya worked on robot sketches nearby, Ethan realized he had learned the most important lesson of his life. Love was the only investment that always paid off. Love was the only success that truly mattered.